In sustenance is also in the hands of Allah only. Allah amplifies and straightens the means of subsistence for whom He pleases. 37. In the same way honor and humility is also from Him only. O Allah, Thou exaltest whom Thou pleasest and abasest whom Thou pleasest, in Thine hand is the good. 38. And that He it is who enriches and gives to hold. 39. To bestow a son, a daughter or not to give any children at all this is also from the will of Allah. He grants to whom He pleases daughters and grants to whom He pleases sons. Or He makes them of both sorts, male and female, and He makes whom He pleases barren. 40. It is He who provides food and He who gives water to drink, and cure from sickness is also in His hand alone. He who gives me to eat and gives me to drink, and when I am sick, then He restores me to health. 41. Tests and trials are from Him alone, and difficulties are also removed by Him. And if Allah should afflict you with harm, then there is none to remove it but He, and if He intends good to you there is none to repel His grace. 42. Thus whatever man gets, the will of Allah is always present in it. He alone gives good fortune and He alone leaves in ill luck. Allah makes err whom He pleases and guides aright whom He pleases. 43. In the same way Allah has power over the emotional states of man, like happiness and sorrow. And that He it is who makes men laugh and makes them weep. 44. In short, it should be known that in the kingdom of the exalted Lord, no such thing happens in which His will, His permission, or consent is not there. If in the kingdom of the Creator of the universe a single leaf also grows on the tree, or in the forest a blade of grass takes shape, or if anywhere a leaf breaks and fall down, it is only with the knowledge and will of Allah. And there falls not a leaf but He knows it. 45. Verbal confession is not enough. Though verbal confession of monotheism and brief fundamentals of faith is sufficient, and if because of sins the belief is not affected, then surely it will be a cause of salvation. But an intelligent person will not be content with this limit. First of all, he should try to strengthen his fundamental belief, that is, his conscience also should accept monotheism as if he is seeing God with the eyes of his conscience. His heart should be illuminated with the light of monotheism in such a way that the lamp of his heart never extinguishes. Then his efforts should be that this light nur goes on increasing. To attain this aim, it is necessary to take care of two things. One is to safeguard from following carnal desires, and the other to completely defend the belief in monotheism. The details of these two will come later. Worship of carnal desires is contrary to the belief in monotheism. Worship of carnal desires means to fulfill them whether they clash with the command of Allah or not. It does not befit those who believe in the oneness of God. Monotheists are, in fact, only those who obey Allah's commands and prohibitions. They act upon His laws, and they avoid those actions that He has prohibited. They are careful that they leave no obligatory act and commit no prohibited deed. One who follows carnal desires can never become a true monotheist. He does not deserve to be called a monotheist. In fact, he does not worship only one Allah, but he worships his carnal desires also. Rather, he gives preference to carnal desires over the orders of Allah. Such a person always thinks and considers himself to be independent. He does not consider himself to be in need of Allah. That is why he does not feel it necessary to acquire God's pleasure. Rather, he remains busy in keeping himself happy and in fulfillment of his lusts. Unless man strives seriously for something, he cannot get it. One who seriously desires to adopt belief in monotheism would never give preference to anyone's word over that of God's. And one who gives preference to his carnal desires over Allah's command is not really willing to have the faith of monotheism. While one who blindly runs after carnal desires can only satisfy them to a little extent. Attention on belief in monotheism through words and deeds. Hence a believer is obliged to pay full attention to his speech and behavior, so that he does not deviate from the straight path of monotheism. He should refrain from all such actions that smell of belittling God, or smell of lowering the position of God. For example, a believer performs a good deed. Now he should not be pleased and delighted too much on performing this act. He should always keep in mind that only Allah had given him the divine opportunity to do it. He should not speak of favors conferred by him on others. He should think that Allah had made him the medium and the cause. In the same way, if some other person does a favor to a believer, he should not flatter that person. Rather he should be thankful to Allah. And he should thank that person that he became the medium of Allah. If someone hurts him, a believer should know that it is a test from Allah. That is why Allah has stopped his help on this occasion. He should remain fearful that he might become deserving of divine punishment and disgrace. He should pray to Allah for the removal of difficulties. He should pray for success in his work. He should never think of being independent of Allah. He should not say, I did this and I did that, or I will do that. He should not even say, if I were not there, this would have happened. I made that one wealthy, and saved that one from trouble. For this kind of talk implies that he proclaims himself to be in the place of the Lord. God should be the center of attention in all actions and speech, to the extent that it is commanded. And do not say of anything, surely I will do it tomorrow, unless Allah pleases. 46. Whenever you want to say something, say it in the above manner. After that it is said, and remember your Lord when you forget. 47. That is if you have forgotten to say, unless Allah pleases insha'Allah, whenever you remember it, say, unless Allah pleases insha'Allah. Hope from Allah and fear of sins. We should never rely %% on our or anyone's intelligence and power. We should have absolute trust only on the unlimited power of God. If something unpleasant happens to us, we should not get frightened or become sad or unhappy. But our grief and fear should be related to God. That whether Allah is displeased or angry with us or not, whether I have become entitled to punishment or disgrace, it might not be a test, it could be some punishment. What if God does not forgive this bad deed? Hope should be from Allah only. There should be no polytheism in hope and fear also. More subtle than the footfall of an ant. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq A.S. has said, indeed, polytheism is more subtle than the footfall of an ant. 48,178. Imam has also said that such polytheism is also seen in the action of wearing the ring inverted to have the stone on the side of palm, so that one remembers pending work etc. In the same way people put a knot on the handkerchief, etc. as reminder for some errand. Albeit, such acts normally do not come into the realm of polytheism. It is polytheism when total hope, complete trust is put on the ring or the knot, that it will surely make one remember things. But if for instance one thinks that, if God wills I will remember due to these means, this act would be according to monotheism. And if Allah does not wish, whatever he may do he would never be reminded of the things he wanted to remember. Making someone a medium wasila for God is not polytheism. So the ring or the knot etc. or some person, all that are taken as mediums to make one remember something do not make one commit polytheism. Only Allah should be in the mind, that if Allah wishes, he would cause these mediums to remind one. All hope should be on God alone. To augur evil is a kind of polytheism. To make draw bad omen and to rely on it is also a type of polytheism. The Holy Prophet has said, to consider bad omen as the only effective thing is like thinking that the bad omen has interfered in the actions of God. That is, one has committed polytheism with regard to God's actions if one has followed a bad omen. The tradition above and the one following, both are quoted on page 66 of volume 2 of Hayatul Haywan. The Holy Prophet has also said, one who retraces his steps thinking a bad omen has occurred has committed polytheism. And Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq A.S. has said that the Holy Prophet remarked, not paying attention to bad omen is itself an expiation of it. What is a superstition? To consider something having good or bad influence while God has not made it to be so is known as superstition. As a matter of fact he has made those things as partners of Allah. For example, he is about to do something sensible, but all of a sudden hears someone else in his presence sneezes. Now he leaves whatever he was about to do thinking that this sneeze would affect the outcome of whatever he was about to do. This is superstition in a kind of polytheism. Sneeze is a blessing. This wrong notion is so widespread that people have named it patience. When someone sneezes, people tell him that patience has occurred. Now that work should not be continued. Although logically or by any rule of Sharia the sneeze by itself is not the cause of any incident to occur in future. Rather, According to Islam, one who sneezes is supposed to have blessings and forgiveness. And it can be said that at that time, whatever was said or done had the blessing of God. Inauspicious moment is also nonsense. There are many people who by observing planets and stars predict future events. They inform about the benefit or loss that may occur in future, on the basis of their own wrong notion or on the basis of astrological predictions. They count certain definite moments or times as inauspicious, and if they had decided to do something at that particular time they will not do it. This is also a kind of polytheism. If man knows that profit and loss is in the powerful hands of God, if he begs for God's help through supplications or charity sadaqah, then that is a proof of monotheism. If at all Allah wishes, then surely he will get the good of it. Amirul Mu'minin A.S. marches to Naharwan. Khawarij is the plural of Khariji, one who goes out. Some soldiers of Ali A.S. left their allegiance to him and started opposing him. Ali A.S. decided to fight those Khawarij and began his march towards Naharwan. Afif ibn Qais said, O Amirul Mu'minin A.S. I am afraid that if you move at this time, you will not get success. I say this on the basis of astrology. The position of the stars indicates weakness of Muslims. Imam said, do you think you can tell the hour when a man goes out and no evil befall him, or can warn of the time at which if one goes out harm will accrue? Whoever testifies to this, falsifies the Quran and becomes unmindful of God in achieving his desired objective and in warding off the undesirable. The Quran says, and if Allah should hasten the evil to men as they desire the hastening of good, their doom should certainly have been decreed for them. 49. These kinds of verses show that good and bad is under the control of God. Man does not even know what he would do tomorrow. This is implied in the following verse. And no one knows what he shall earn on the morrow. 50. The person having such a wrong notion does not seek God's help. He considers himself needless of God in achieving good and avoiding calamities. You cherish saying this so that he who acts on what you say should praise you rather than God. Because according to your misconception you have guided him about the hour in which he would secure benefit and avoid harm. 51. Marched at the same time and returned victorious. In brief, Ali A.S. did not accept the view of Afif, and he said to his companions, march forward taking the name of God and in the shade of his help, and always seek the assistance of God Almighty. Thus, immediately at that hour Imam invaded the Khawarijis, and was victorious in that battle. 9 Khawarijis ran away and the rest were killed. In comparison, very few of Ali's men were killed. Crowing of the crow, just as sneezing, which is considered a bad omen, other silly ideas are also prevalent among the general public. Many things are considered as bad omen, and are thought to affect future happenings. This is a kind of polytheism. For example, listening to crowing of crow is considered by some as inauspicious. If an owl sits on a wall, it is said to be a bad omen. Number 13 is considered inauspicious. If during a journey a bird crosses one's path from right or left, it is considered a sign of inauspiciousness. At the time of coming out of the house, if a handicapped person is seen, it is considered inauspicious. Guests arriving or leaving on Sunday and Wednesday Eve and visiting a sick person on these eves is considered to be a cause of misfortune. To consider someone as auspicious or inauspicious is also nonsense. A person purchases a house and starts living in it, gets married and children are born. But he falls into calamities at some time, hence he says that the house is inauspicious. His wife is unlucky, some children are unlucky, but when he makes new gains the same house becomes auspicious again and the same wife and children now become auspicious and are welcomed. All these are superstitions and such talk is nonsense. This is a kind of polytheism. It is against monotheism. Only Allah is the master of profit and loss, and good or evil. Misunderstanding. If someone says that his belief is based on experience, it is a misunderstanding. It is not necessary that one who considers some occasion as inauspicious, every work he undertakes at that time will be unsuccessful or will not be done properly, or problems will arise. In fact, equal possibility is there that it may prove good for him. It is expected from a man that on every occasion he perform his work with perfect trust in Allah, having faith in Allah's power. Now good or bad, whatever is in his fate, is the will of Allah. There is nothing unpleasant in it. One who considers something or some occasion to be inauspicious and that it affects future events should know that it has no relation whatsoever with the future. Whatever is to happen is bound to happen, someone may or may not sneeze. Inauspiciousness lies in wrong beliefs and disapproved qualities. In the city of Antioch, 3 prophets of God arrived and started preaching to the inhabitants so that they accept Allah as their cherisher and worship Him, that they embrace the religion of Allah and have faith. On the day of judgment, they told these prophets, they said, "Surely we augur evil from you." 52. Because of your presence we are suffering from so many difficulties and problems. As a matter of fact, the king of Antioch had in the beginning shown displeasure towards those prophets and to those few who had declared their faith in them. The prophets replied, "Your evil fortune is with you because of your own deeds. 53. Your beliefs are wrong, your qualities are undesirable, and this is your misfortune, and evil omen. Do not care for bad omen." Imam Sadiq A.S. has said, "Bad omen is according to the way you think. If you do not care for it, it will prove to be a thing not worth caring for. And if you consider it to be absolutely non-existent and an imaginary thing, it will prove to be non-existent and imaginary." 54. There is a famous tradition of the Prophet, called the tradition of Rafa. A part of it is as follows. When the companions asked the Prophet, "We are in the habit of taking bad omens. That is, we unknowingly talk of bad omen." The Prophet said, "Whenever you speak of bad omen, do not have faith on it and do not become habituated to it. Travel on Wednesday and its supplication. If it is said that Wednesday is an inauspicious day, then in this regard there is a tradition of holy infallibles that we must not worry about it." A tradition of Sayfinach al-Bahar says, "One who leaves his house on Wednesday, and as opposed to those who consider bad omens, he does not turn back home, he is saved from all calamities. He remains safe from all difficulties and Allah fulfills his aim for which he undertook the journey." 55. There is a tradition from Imam Ali Rida A.S. that one should read the following supplication while beginning a journey on a Wednesday. "O my Lord, I seek protection from that wickedness, which I find in my own self, so save me from this mischief." 56. Imam has taught supplications in which a person invokes, "I seek your protection from the inauspiciousness of this Wednesday." Rather, Imam teaches us to say, "I want to come out of the evil which is present in my own self, into the shade of your protection." We must always augur good. It should not remain unsaid that to augur good is recommended and Sharia also commands it. The Messenger of Allah has said, "Indeed, to augur good is liked by Allah. Taking a good omen is like a person on seeing someone, or by hearing his name, or by any other relevant matter imagines happiness and deliverance from affliction for himself." 57. For example, if a co-traveler is named Nasrullah, help of Allah, one should say, "If Allah wills, by the auspiciousness of your name, Allah's help and assistance would remain with us all the way." Narrations mention that in the battle against infidels in Hudaybiyah, when the companions arrived, the Prophet, taking relevance from their name Saul equals easy, said, "Our mission was made easy." Auguring evil is related to polytheism. Yes, the meaning of auguring evil is that upon seeing a handicapped person on the way one thinks that the control over the Prophet and loss of the work for which he was going has slipped from Allah's hand. And now it is in the hands of seeing that handicapped person. One begins to take an imaginary thing as effective and does not consider the effect and control of God. That is, he does polytheism in God's actions. On the contrary, if one augurs good, his good opinion in respect of Allah and his hopes increase. He does not consider these imaginary things to be effective. Rather he considers Allah as the only effective power. Conclusion. Monotheists should consider all good and evil, all profit and loss, all kinds of hope for goodness and deliverance from evil, to be related only with God. One should use the causes as means, but all one's hopes should be in the will and pleasure of God. With regard to effect, the causes are not cut off and independent from Allah. Hope should be only from Allah. He can make any cause as means and he may, if he so likes, does not make some cause as the means and without the involvement of any cause. He exercises his will. Considering causes to be necessarily effective is a kind of polytheism. Such imaginary things and bad omens have no effect of their own. Making imams as intermediaries is not polytheism. Certain ignorant people, like the Wahhabis, label the Shias as polytheists because they consider their imams to be intermediaries between them and God. They invoke Allah in their names and repose hope in their intercession. On the basis of this they allege, may Allah give us refuge, that Shias worship their imams. The reply to this allegation is that Shias never consider their imams as partners of Allah. They are true believers in monotheism. They consider the Holy Prophet and the 12 imams to be creatures of Allah and his proximate servants. They consider the worship of anyone other than Allah as polytheism and a prohibited act. They obey the Holy Prophet and the 12 imams because it is the command of Allah to do so. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Apostle and those in authority from among you. 58. And whatever the Apostle gives you, accept it, and from whatever he forbids you, keep back. 59. It is proved with categorical proofs that the 12 imams from Ahlul Bayt household of the Prophet are the true successors and legatees of the Prophet. The Holy Prophet himself has clearly commanded to obey and follow them, while obedience to the Prophet is in fact obedience to Allah. Visitation ziyarat is not deification. Yes, to visit the graves of the beloved servants of Allah is not polytheism. Shias do not worship the imams by going for their visitation ziyarat. Rather, it is an expression of respect and humility. Common sense dictates that the servants of Allah should be humble before Him. Intelligence demands that fear of Allah and humility to Him should be shown by everyone. In the same way, to respect the favorite servants of Allah is a proof of obeisance to Allah. To love the beloved ones of Allah is to love Allah. 60. The Quran also commands the Muslims to honor and respect the Holy Prophet. For example, it is said, "Do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet, and do not speak loud to him." 61. Do not hold the apostles calling you among you to be like you calling one to the other. 62. That is, do not call the messenger like you call each other, but say, O Messenger of Allah, that you may believe in Allah and His Apostle and may aid him and revere him, and that you may declare his glory, morning and evening. 63. It is also established with solid proofs that the 12 imams are included in this command, as they are having the same respectful position. They are all from the same light nur, and as the respect of the Prophet is obligatory, in the same way their 12 imams, respect is also obligatory. Respecting the kings and rulers. It is a matter of great astonishment that those who say, in opposition to Shias, that respecting the Holy Prophet and his progeny is polytheism, themselves behave with great respect and honor towards the rulers, the people of authority, and rather every wealthy person. In fact, the Holy Prophet has prohibited humility to rich people when he said, Allah destroys 2/3 of the faith of one who shows humility towards a wealthy person, just because of his wealth. 64. This tradition indicates that besides humility to the wealthy with one's words and actions while also having a similar feeling in the heart, because of his wealth, can cause the destruction of 2/3 of one's religion. But if the wealthy person is religious also, and respect is shown because of his piety, then it would be respect of religion, and respect of Allah's religion is respect of Allah himself. Taking someone as intermediary is different from considering him a deity. To take the Prophet and other dignitaries of religion as intermediaries in the court of Allah for fulfillment of worldly and other worldly aims and desires, or to consider them as intercessors, who by the will and permission of Allah would be our helpers in delivering us from physical losses as well as getting us spiritual values, is not polytheism. There is a difference in taking someone as intermediary in the court of Allah from considering someone as God. Allah has bestowed such power and capability to the imams that with the permission and will of Allah they can help the servants of Allah. They can lift up the fallen ones, they can save them from stumbling over or colliding with something, they can save them from afflictions and misfortune, and they can take those on the roads to their destination. Making them intermediaries is just like one goes to a doctor or takes medicine and considers them as means to good health, which would be ultimately provided by Allah. If Allah had not permitted, the doctor or the medicine would not have healed. In the same way, if Allah did not wish, the Prophet and Imams also would not have helped. Everything depends on Allah. If a person feels himself to be incapable or unable to reach the king on his own, he seeks help of those courtiers who are favorites and confidants of the king and makes them his intermediaries. In this way there is no disrespect to the king. The great Muhaddith Iraqi has narrated many incidents regarding the mediation of Ahlul Bayt and the fulfillment of needs through them in his book Darus Salam. We relate here one of those incidents. On page 539 of this book the incident begins as follows. The fifth miracle is regarding Mullah Abdul Hussain Qansari, who was a reliable and an upright person. He was an attendant at the shrines of Karbala, and was famous as Turbate Pek. He used to collect the dust of cure, cake shifa from venerable places with proper procedure as mentioned in traditions, and distributed it to the pilgrims. It was the beginning period of my being an attendant, that in a religious gathering I happened to meet him. I found him to be very pious and virtuous. I came to know that he had the opportunity to be the attendant of and in serving the holy shrine for many years. I requested him to narrate some miracle that he himself has witnessed. Of the astonishing things related by him is the following. I was living Qansar. For some time I stayed in a town near the city of Baruhart, and then I stayed in villages. At last, one day, I got a passion to serve at the purified grave of Imam Hussain A.S. It was winter and I did not have adequate means for travel. But still I acquired 2 asses. Canopied seats and saddles were made from tree branches for loading grapes. I purchased 2 such saddles. In one I arranged to seat my children, one of whom was named Hassan. In the other seat, I spread a quilt. And on that quilt I seated my wife. Then I started towards Baruhard. Probably he himself was sitting on the back of the donkey outside the seat, so that from there I may start my journey to Karbala. Incidentally, the priest of that village, Mullah Muhammad Jafar, met me. He showed his favor, grace and kindness. But when he came to know about my intention and determination, he started telling me that I should not go, saying, "It is very cold, and you do not have proper things to protect yourselves. In such circumstances it is not proper for you to proceed." We had too much discussion and in the end he was disappointed. He drew a line with his finger on the ground and said, "You are going, but this way you will kill your children, you remember this day and this line." He said this and went away, and we again started our journey. Till by the grace of Allah and by means of the attention of Fatima Zahra, we all finally reached Karbala, safe and sound. Some time passed after this incident. Hitherto, people from my area also came for ziyarat. Some were from my village also. Among them, a nephew of Mullah Muhammad Jafar was also present. I thought that since they had come from my village, I should keep them as guests. That way they will also see that not only we have reached safe and sound, but we have started receiving the necessary requirement and means for sustenance also to a certain extent. The line Mullah Muhammad Jafar had drawn to prevent us had no effect at all. Hence I went to my house at the time of breakfast. A piece of cloth was spread on the ground for serving the dishes. Whatever food we had prepared was put on it, then discussion started. My elder son, Hassan, was playing in the courtyard. Our house was situated on the 3rd floor. Suddenly Hassan climbed the ladder leading to the roof. After climbing to the roof, he inclined himself forward to see us through the window. We had hardly seen him in that position that he fell down to the ground in the narrow street below and died immediately. The events changed and joy turned to gloom. On seeing the condition of the child, I ran towards the shrine of Imam Hussain A.S., bare head and bare foot. On the entrance door, I requested and said, "Assalamu alayka ya waritha Isa Ruhullah, peace be upon you, O inheritor of Isa, the Spirit of Allah." Then, I entered and clung to the Zari 65. I loosened the shawl tied to my waist. I tied one end of the shawl to the lock of the Zari, and the other to my neck. Then I started weeping aloud. I said, "I swear, by your mother Zahra, I will not accept that the line of Mullah Muhammad Jafar should affect us. And his words should not prove right. It should not be so." Attendants, pilgrims and others present in the shrine gathered around me. They were surprised on seeing my condition. They were asking the reason for it, but they were not getting any answer. Some thought that I had gone mad. A religious scholar who stayed in my neighborhood came to me, calling me to join in the funeral rites of my son. Through him people came to know what had befallen me. My religious scholar neighbor started advising me, consoling me, "Oh mullah, you are an intelligent person. The dead do not become alive. Come on, let us take away the dead body. The mother is about to destroy herself on seeing her child." But I did not agree, so he started reproaching me. Others also joined him. I said, "Please leave me alone. I have no concern with you all, why are you troubling me unnecessarily?" People began to ridicule me and then they went out of the shrine to carry away my son's bier. My condition deteriorated from what it was before. Once again, I started wailing loudly, "I swear by your mother Zara, I will not move from your zari. I will not come out from your shrine, even if I die. Or that Allah should take away my life, or return my son Hassan to me." I had torn the neck of my shirt. I was hitting my head on the zari, till it was almost noon. Suddenly, a noise was heard from the gallery and courtyard of the shrine. People were seen running here and there. I could not understand what had happened. Then I saw people entering the shrine in the form of a procession. When I looked carefully, I saw my son walking towards me. My neighboring religious scholar was holding his hand. His mother was just behind. People were reciting salawat. Having seen this, I threw myself on the ground. I kissed the stone near the zari. I prostrated in front of Allah, thanking him. Then I got up and embraced my son. Then I kissed his eyes. I asked people about the happening, and the religious scholar said, "We had taken him for the last rites to the corpse bathhouse outside the city and had just put the first bowl of water on his head. That we found his temple throbbing from both the sides. It seemed as if someone was massaging it. Then there was some movement in the head, and all of a sudden he sneezed once, then he got up as if he had just awakened from sleep. Then we dressed him and brought him here for the ziyarat of the shrine and to give you the good news of this miracle." Muhaddith Iraqi says, "We have seen this boy Hassan many a times after that. Today on Friday 26th of Jamadil Awal 1300 AH also, by the wish of Allah, he is alive. Although his father, Mullah Abdul Hussain passed away a long time ago. If it is said that Allah is more kind to and nearer to humans than he is to any of his creatures, so what